I'm going to introduce RJ. I set off. Yeah. Did you turn it off? Turn it off? Is it off? Okay. Good. As you know, it's important that we present a professional resume and a cover letter and act professionally. I was just in, sit on down. I was just at, I said Exact Target, Fusion, which is in Grand Rapids, and the guys up there are doing a great job, and they just said, hey, these people act like professionals. So tonight is our first step in moving, or another step in moving towards getting professional resumes, cover letters, literature skills. So RJ is a DePauw graduate. He did his internship at Ernst & Young in London, and was on the swim team while he was here. He is now at Exact Target and has been there for
9 years.
9 years. How old is Exact Target?
About 11 years.
Yeah, so he was one of the first employees. How many do you have now?
We have 2,500 employees.
And you were what number? 48. 48. So, so please help me welcome RJ back to campus and pay attention.
Hi everybody, I'm RJ here. Welcome. Glad that you're here. And like Gary said, I was a management fellow at Exact Target, or at DePauw back in the day. We're walking through resume and interview. It was maybe 12, 15 years ago that I was sitting in your chair trying to figure out what I wanted to do. You know, it's interesting being on this side of the fence in that we actually hire interns, or we hire new grads. And actually I've asked Lauren and Greg to join tonight's experience just to give you a little bit of a sense of what they recently went through in creating their resume and cover letter and getting jobs with Exact Target. So I would love for this to be really casual, interactive, for you to ask real questions about what you, about your experience, about what you want in your resume, about how you can get a job. I'd also like to push you and think a little bit outside of the box of maybe what you've seen previous management fellows do in the past, and really understand what you want to do, what you're passionate about, what you're excited about, and figure out how we can get you the ideal internship for your junior year. So. As Gary mentioned, I'm RJ Tallier. I'm the Vice President of Mobile Products at Exact Target. I was employee number 48, and if you're not familiar with Exact Target, Greg will give you a quick overview. When I was at DePauw, I was a 4-year varsity swimmer. I was in a fraternity. I was really involved in DePauw community service, and I did 4 internships. One was a restaurant management internship. One was with a small startup. My semester-long internship was with Ernst & Young in London for 6 months. And then I also did another internship, a short one, just to get a little bit of a different flavor. And then since graduation, I've worked for 3 different places. I worked for the War Fellowship, which is an entrepreneurial fellowship that's for 2 years out of graduation. It's kind of an extension of management fellows in a way. It's targeted to get any undergraduates to stay in Indiana and pairs you up with a small entrepreneurial company. I did that for about 9 months of the 2 years, and my company I worked for went bankrupt, and so I had to find another job. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. I'll tell you about it later. And then I worked for a small market research firm that had about 10 people in it. It was a great market research firm, and I thought that was an entrepreneurship, but really it was more of a lifestyle business that they didn't want to grow beyond 10 people, and they still haven't grown beyond 10 people. So I left that job and worked at Exact Target. I started out on the services team, worked on the services team for about 3 years before moving over to the product side. I was an English major, an English writing major here at DePauw, and I was a management fellow. And now I lead a team of software developers and instruct them on what products we should be building. I never took a computer science class here, so it's kind of funny how an English writing major and management fellow can end up doing computer science stuff. Ironically, my sister was a year younger than me at DePauw, and she was a computer science major, and now she runs an event planning business. So sort of our paths crisscross, but you probably have heard a lot about kind of making your own future, and I'd really encourage you to think about what do you want to do, what are kind of your wildest dreams, and let's figure out how to make that internship match to what you really think you might do next year. A fun fact about me is My record for Marvin's orders was $27. I ordered $27 of Marvin's one night. Has anybody ever ordered that much Marvin's for themselves in a night? Bring it. All right. Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hobbs. I graduated from Purdue University. So I'm a recent grad, graduated in 2012. While at Purdue, I was very active in my sorority. I served as the president of Delta Gamma at Purdue. I was also involved in a program called Old Masters, which brought back alumni that had gone on to do really great things in business and healthcare. Sometimes we had astronauts, and did a program kind of similar to this where they talked to different classes at Purdue. And then I was also involved in a couple of groups within my School of Business. I graduated with a degree in management, and I was involved with the School of Management Employers Forum and the Beta Gamma Sigma Honor Society. So after I graduated from Purdue, or I guess during the time at Purdue, I had a few internships. I interned at Beck's Hybrid, which is actually a seed company in Central Indiana. Did marketing for them. I then went on to do an internship in Chicago with Arthur J. Gallagher, an insurance brokerage firm. And then in my junior year, I interned with Exact Target, and I can tell you a little bit about the slingshot internship that we offered at Exact Target, which I participated in. And then decided to come back to Exact Target as a catapult. And again, we'll share a little more information about that with you this evening. And now, since going through the catapult program, I have landed on RJ's mobile team. So I'm a business analyst for one of our mobile products. And a fun fact about me, when I first got my car, thought that I was going to really get the hookup and maybe little Grand Am or something, that a 16-year-old girl would want to drive. And instead I got a 1980-something wood-paneled station wagon with a nice crushed blue interior with a horn like a train. So it was a humbling experience for the first few years of my driving.
I like it. I want to see a picture.
Yeah, I've got one.
Good. All right, Greg.
Thanks. Hey everyone, my name is Greg Murphy. I'm a 2011 graduate from Miami University in Ohio. And while at Miami, I was studying marketing and Spanish. So I was a marketing major within our business school, and then also had a Spanish minor on the side. Involvement at Miami ranged. My heaviest involvement was with a professional business fraternity, where I spent some time leading up our market research portion of the organization. So working with brands such as Hasbro and relaunching Trivial Pursuit for them. I also worked with some charities. So Dance Marathon at Miami helped start that there, get it running. Do you guys have that here at the bottom? Awesome. In comparison to Lauren and RJ, I only had one internship. I didn't knock that with 3 or 4 like them. But I was in Boston with Havas Media Group, working at an agency there for traditional media advertising. So working on print, radio, and TV advertising for a summer. That was after my junior year. After graduating from Miami, I came to Exact Target, and similarly to Lauren, joined our catapult program. So what that is a 9-month program where you actually rotate through 3 different portions of the Exact Target business. So I went through a part of our sales organization, services, product, and then eventually found myself on RJ's team where I work today as a business analyst for our product called Mobile Connect, which is for SMS management. So if you guys have ever gotten any sort of SMS promotion or a receipt via SMS or text message or a shipping confirmation, that's what we do and what we help marketers with. A fun fact about me, I was sharing with Lauren and RJ on the way over here. I spent some time in Argentina while I was in school, and while I was there, I got bit by a wild penguin. Actually, I didn't tell you guys that on the way here. So generally, I don't find many other people who've also been bit by penguins.
That's good. That's good. I made them do the fun facts, so it worked. Fine.
So I was going to just look to see who has heard of Exact Target before. Wow. Before you knew that we were coming in to talk to you today? Awesome. Well, Exact Target was founded about 11 years ago. And our foundation was as an email service provider. So we were a company that brands would come to if they wanted to interact with their customers, their clients via email. So what we do is we would help someone such as Best Buy. Instead of, say, sending out a message to, say, 10 million subscribers that they have in the US that says, we have a sale going on Friday, we instead help them to press send to 10 million people, but RJ will get a message that says, hey RJ, we have a sale that's going on in Indianapolis this weekend for a product that RJ has shown interest for in the past. And Lauren might get an email that's very different, that's segmented to her and women, but really we help brands such as Best Buy work with all of that data, hit send once, and send a really relevant, one-to-one personalized message. So that's where we started. Since then, and over the past 11 years, things have really changed, and we've opened up our offering to far more than just email, and really today are a full digital marketing software provider. So ranging on platforms such as email, mobile, social, web, and then automations to run all of these. So a marketer sets up that type of campaign once, and then it runs on their behalf. They have data that's coming in from a point of sale that's then going to populate and create the message that's going out tomorrow, and they can go on and do something else, not spend every day inside of the application trying to create this message for RJ. Systems are in place to do that for them. But really the biggest thing that's going to differentiate ExactTarget from some other companies and really where marketing is going is data. The fact that all these communications and what we're sending out to end users is driven by data. So it's no longer going to drive the same type of response to an end user if they see a big billboard on the side of the street that says, come in today for 10% off. What they want to see is something that is relevant to them, that means a bit more to them, and it's easier for them to engage with. Say I can take out my phone and have a coupon there that is relevant to me, and I can make a purchase right away. So the way that we're doing that is through a number of different channels that break out here. So email, mobile applications, social channels such as Twitter and Facebook, the web, so tracking to see what are you looking at on these websites while you're there, what are you purchasing, what are you putting inside of your shopping cart, SMS, how you engage with different products, television, the store. These are all the different touch points that you have with these brands. We help brands to gather all of that data and bring it into one spot so that, on the next slide, you're really going to manage that point of interaction that you have with that end user so you know that you're delivering the right message at the right time to the right person. So the type of brands that we're helping to deliver these types of messages are really ranging across all different industries. So we have in here some of the largest banks across the world, retailers, financial institutions, travel agencies, you name it, we're working with them. And these are the customers that we're serving today.
It's interesting to go from employee number 48 to a company of now 2,500 people at ExactTarget that we just purchased by a company called Salesforce out of San Francisco. We have global offices all over the world, and we have interns at those global offices, as well as all sorts of other opportunities. And Greg's been all over the world already, visiting different offices, presents to all sorts of customers, ranging from hotels.com to Papa John's, and Lauren's doing the same, working with customers like Sony, for example, on a daily basis. And it's been a fun ride to really see where we started and then where we're headed. One of the things that I was excited about coming back to DePauw again about is because I gave a similar talk, I think it was like 6 years ago. And a guy came up to me after the session I was just talking about, ExactTarget. He said, hey, I want an intern here. And I said, oh, okay, we don't have an internship program, but let me see what I can do. So I talked to our CEO. He said, great, start it. And I was like, so do I have a budget, or what do I do? I mean, what am I supposed to do? And he said, I don't know, just figure it out. So we started an internship program called Slingshot, and Ryan Tinker, if you know Ryan, was our first intern from DePauw, and Zach Cook was our second intern, and then it's grown into this huge internship program where we've had, I don't you might know how many classes, was it 6 or 7 classes of interns?
I think so.
Over the last 6 or 7 years. And like 100 different interns, as well as 100 different recent college grads, including Lauren and Greg. So it's been kind of a fun ride from the very beginning, but I want Lauren to tell you a little bit more about internship opportunities and opportunities for recent grads.
So the Slingshot program that RJ mentioned and had a huge hand in creating is now a thriving program where we have, I think, 25 interns, I guess 25 catapults, but we had almost 25 interns this last summer. So it's really grown from having 1 or 2 people a few years ago to a really well-known program within the company that is starting to get a lot of traction on campuses as well, with name recognition and candidates who are really excited to join. And what the Slingshot program offers that some other internships lack in is exposure to not only projects that are going to be contributing to the company and work that's going to need to be done whether you're there or not. And you're going to have an opportunity not only to take a hold of something and have ownership, but then also exposure to some of our executives. So within the Slingshot program, you have an opportunity to meet with our CEO, our CFO, our VP of sales, and learn from their experiences as they've come through other companies and have a career full of advice and suggestions for you as somebody who's just starting out and just starting to plan their career. So the ability to interact with higher level folks at the company and executives that have had years and years of experience in startups and in some larger companies, board. And so they're bringing this experience and sharing it with you, which is not something that other internships always offer. And in terms of the project work, which I mentioned earlier, you really are taking on work that needs to be done and that needs to be done very well. And so the responsibility that you're given as an intern is something that we don't see often in other internships. And some examples of projects that other interns have done in the past that myself and my fellow Slingshots have done when I was there include working on some marketing collateral that was implemented and sent out to 40 of our top prospects. And we have another intern who had helped to plan our user conference, which included, I think we had 3 or 4,000 people, clients mostly, and prospects attend. And she helped plan it from beginning to end and then came back after she had gone back to school to help follow through on the work that she had done. So you really become an employee in every sense of the word when you become a Slingshot intern with Exact Target, and are even offered opportunities that some of our other employees don't get a chance to have. So that's a program that we can talk a little bit about timelines, but it's typically offered throughout the summer. So it's about a 12-week program. And we typically take sophomores and juniors, so if you are interested, it's something that we would be happy to talk to you about after. The Slingshot program also has a follow-up called the Catapult program, which is focused on recent graduates. And this program is full-time employment. So you come into Exact Target and you go through different rotations across the company. Typically they're cross-functional, so you may come in looking to do marketing, but in addition to doing that marketing rotation, you're also going to be required to do a technical rotation or a sales rotation so that you're really getting a full understanding of how the company operates and getting a chance to meet people that are outside of your department. And so within the Catapult program, it's 9 months, and so within that program you do 3 rotations at 3 months apiece. So it's almost like 3 internships within this 9-month rotation, where you're getting the same amount of responsibility again as an employee would get, taking on responsibilities. For example, I worked on pricing for our SMS product, so I got to own this from beginning to end, present to our VP of Finance and get the pricing approved and implemented. So as you can see, it's real work and it's a great experience to get to meet and network with folks across the company. And so if you're interested, we also have some timelines there that you know, you might just put on your radar for the future.
Cool. I know that, did anybody interview with the DePauw folks yesterday? I mean, with the Exact Target folks yesterday? No, the interviews were here. So if you're interested in interning, let us know ASAP, because we're going to have our finals nights coming up where we select interns for next year. But if you're interested in maybe interning the following year, we'd love to chat with you about that as well. So what kind of the bulk of the time we're going to be spending today is talking about some real life tips that you can use to get a really good internship. And when I was a management fellow at DePauw, I was a swimmer. And, you know, are you any swimmers in the room? What's your name? Andrew. Andrew, we met last year. Yeah. Any other swimmers? Well, as Andrew knows, the swim season goes from August until about February or March. And the problem with that is that you sort of have to pick one of the semesters that you go off campus, which sort of messes your whole swim season up. And so I didn't want to go off campus for 2 semesters, but I really wanted to study abroad. So I wanted to study abroad, I wanted to also swim, and I had to do this internship. So what I wanted to do was an international internship. And I set my sights on this international internship with Ernst & Young, applied for it, got it, and it was actually best of both worlds because I got to live in London for 6 months, work for a great company, had an awesome internship, got to do all sorts of stuff. I traveled to Hong Kong and to New York and all throughout Europe, in addition to working at a pretty great internship that hopefully I think has contributed to what I'm doing today. So it really worked out for me. A friend of mine, my roommate actually, wanted to intern, but he's a big golfer. And he wanted to live in Florida, and he wanted to work for the PGA. Have you guys heard about it? Gary, you tell the story all the time. No. But he wanted to work for the PGA, he's a big golfer, and wanted to live in Florida. So he basically cold called the PGA, got somebody there to listen to him, and he lived for a semester on the beach in Florida working with the PGA. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so I know that there's a lot of different internship opportunities available for you, but I'd really like to start out by understanding what internship you want. What do you want to do? And maybe you haven't even thought about that, but what internship do you want to do? And that then will predicate what you should do to get that internship. We've got a number of good tips. I think they're going to help no matter what you're doing, but let's start first where what you want. So I'm going to whiteboard, and you're going to shout out things. I want you to describe your ideal internship. Go. What would you want to do for 3 to 6 months of your life? What does your ideal internship look like? Let's start out where it is. Where would you want to be?
Warm.
Where?
Warm.
Somewhere warm. Okay. Great. What else?
Abroad.
Abroad. Where? Anywhere?
No. Brazil.
Europe? Brazil? Where else?
China.
Cool. Where else?
Australia.
Woohoo. Anywhere else? Yeah. Cool. Good. All right. Well, let's talk about. Keep talking about your ideal internship. What are you doing at this ideal internship?
Traveling.
You're traveling. Okay. Cool. What else?
Doing your own projects.
Yeah, okay, your own projects. What else are you doing?
Working as a team.
Working as a team. Cool. What else?
Networking.
Networking. Okay. What else?
Meeting executives.
Meeting executives. Cool. Okay.
Developing professional skills.
Developing professional skills. Okay.
Substantial, meaningful workload.
What's that?
Substantial, meaningful workload, I guess.
Yeah, substantial. Yeah, you want to be busy with good work. Substantial, meaningful workload. Okay, what else?
Enjoyable.
You want it to be enjoyable. What else?
Big city.
You want to be in a big city. Cool. What else?
Sports.
You want to be working in sports? You want to be working in sports? Good. Yeah. What else? What department do you want to work in?
Finance,
Finance?
marketing,
All right. What other departments do you want to work in?
marketing,
Marketing? What other departments?
management,
Management?
or something.
You want to be a management, you want to be the management over the interns. Why not? What else? What other departments? PR, HR? Good. What else?
Sales.
Sales? Good. What else? All three of us work on the product team. Nobody wants to work with us. Fun. Okay, how much do you want to work? What time do you want to start? 9? What time do other people want to start? Noon? What else? Any other times?
8.
8? Okay. Fine. What time do you want to end? 5?
4.
5? 4?
Okay, 5. I started 9.
Does anybody not want set hours? Do you want set hours?
Flexible.
Flexibility? Great. Flexible hours?
Every day of the week. 7 days a week.
Okay, you want to, well, that's the next question. Do you want to work all 7 days? Or you want to work,
No.
how many days a week do you want to work?
5.
You want to work 5?
4 to
5 All right, then let's talk about what do you want to be doing? Do you want to be at a computer? Do you want to be meeting with customers? Do you want to be in a warehouse? Do you want to be drawing? What do you want to be doing?
Planning with customers.
Planning?
difference, all of it. Something
Okay.
interactive
You want to do something, what is it, interactive?
with other people.
Interactive with other people, and then someone said something else like this. I said planning, interactive
With customers.
with customers, okay? What else?
What do you want to wear? Do you want to be in a suit?
No?
Business
Casual. Do we have anybody who wants to wear a suit for the internship? Yeah, somebody wants to, okay. I mean, this is kind of fun, like you can pick whatever you want, you know? And the thing to keep in mind here is that, like, I work at a job where, like, I've got a kid, I've got a wife, I've got another kid, I can't quit my job. You guys have 3 months, that's all you have to do, 3 months. And then you have to pick something else. So you can do whatever you want for 3 months, you know, like you can sort of fake it, or you can wear a suit, or you can, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of this. I mean, you've got to think, really, what do you want? Sorry, somebody else had a comment?
Oh, I was gonna say business casual.
Business
nice
casual.
happy medium.
This is what I wear to work. These guys wear this to work today. Most of the people, actually, we work on the product team, so a bunch of developers, most of them wear shorts and flip-flops every day. So,
We're a little dressed up.
yeah, we're a little dressed up. But, you know, we work for a software company, so it's, you know, even when I meet with customers, I wear jeans a lot. So it depends on the customer. Actually, I was on site with a financial services customer yesterday in Boston, and I had to dress up. I had to wear a suit, so.
If you wear slacks into our office, someone will say, Greg, what's going on?
Yeah.
You
You interviewing?
this afternoon? No, I bought all these clothes before I started working and I wanted
Okay, what, anything else you want to do that we haven't talked about? Talk about international, we want to work with a team, we want to network, maybe in big cities, want to be working in the finance or the marketing department, maybe in PR, HR. We want to be working a few different hours. Most people want to work 5 days a week. Anything else?
I don't want to end up poor.
You don't want to end up poor,
Yeah.
so you want to get paid.
More or less.
Okay, so you want a paid internship, and you don't want to end up poor. Okay, I mean that's good
Maybe
point.
like have a place to live. Like it would be nice to live maybe on the street.
Cool. Where do you want to live? You want to live in a
I'm
penthouse.
kidding. Like really anywhere.
You guys, I lived in a 14-bedroom house when I was an intern. So,
I'd be down.
That's cool.
all right. What?
Find a mentor.
You want to find a mentor? Cool. Okay. All right, let's leave this for a second. If you haven't participated, I urge you to think about what your ideal internship looks like. Spend some time, write it down. Maybe you don't get all of the things that you want, but there's certainly tons of opportunities and internships out there for you that match what you want, and you can get it. So maybe not all, but you can get a lot of it. So think, really, what do I want before you start even down the path of writing a resume? Because if you're writing a resume for a job you don't even want or don't even know what you want from it, then it's sort of a pointless exercise. Second question for you. What are the stereotypes of millennial in the workplace? You guys talk about that at all? Let's talk about some of the stereotypes. I heard one. Lazy. What else?
Multitasking.
What?
Multitasking.
Multitasking. What else? Egotistical. What else?
Entitled.
Entitled. What does entitled mean to you? What does that mean?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of like a sort of like a sense of like you're higher up than you think you are, like you're not willing to, put in the groundwork, I guess.
Yeah, good. That's great. Thank you. What else? What are the other stereotypes of a millennial in the workplace? You're going to try and get a job in this workplace, and these people have stereotypes about you. What are they saying? What are you saying?
Tech savvy?
Tech savvy. Yeah, that's actually a good stereotype, right? What are other stereotypes about millennials in the workplace?
Maybe they lack people skills.
They lack people skills.
Oh, I was just kind of adding a side note to myself, but because of all the technology.
Oh yeah, okay, because of technology. Yeah. What else?
Maybe inexperienced.
Inexperience. What else? What are other stereotypes about you? Ambitious. Any others?
Disrespectful to older people.
Disrespectful.
Elders. Yeah, to authority.
Disrespectful to authority. Spoil. What else? Impatient. Innovative. Is that Andrew again? And he's got the positive spin, man. It's true though. I mean, you got to think about both the positive and the negative stereotypes, because you're going to be held accountable for both when you go in for an interview. Anything else you've had? No? Well, we'll leave that for a second. Keep thinking about that. The third and the last one is, why do organizations hire interns? Why would Exact Target hire you? Why do we need you?
Maybe because they knew how much the internship helped them in the past and want to help mentor.
Yep. So, sort of kind of pass it forward or pay it forward or whatever. Pay it back. What else? Extended interview. What else?
To train like potential employees according to their preference.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually a big one for Exact Target. We have a lot of technical. Did you see that? Oh yeah, we have a lot of technical roles that we don't have any classes for. So that's a good point. What else? Why do organizations hire interns?
Maybe they want to attract the best and brightest to their company. Having a reputable internship program would give their name out to people who are the best.
Yes, attract the best and brightest. What else?
To do grunt work.
Grunt work. What else?
see if like young people may have newer creative ideas that may not have been taught to people who've been out of school for a while.
Yeah, new and creative ideas. Why else do organizations hire interns?
It's cheap.
Cheap labor. Free labor. No. So do you think about, as you're creating your resume and your cover letter and going after these internships, it's kind of important to understand sort of the lay of the land. First, what do you want? What do you want? This list of things. You know, where is it in this list of things? I want X, Y, and Z. This is what I'm looking for, right? And then you have to think about what is the other person on the other end of the phone thinking? Well, this person's lazy, but they're probably innovative. You know, they're coming in with their preconceived notions. And then you also have to think, why are they even interested in talking to you in the first place? Yeah, you might have good and creative ideas, but I also need somebody to do some drum. I'm looking for an extended interview, or maybe I just want it's a feel-good thing for me. So all of these reasons are reasons that people hire interns, and it might be different one organization from the next, but you know, it's kind of good to understand the lay of the land and figure out how do you get what you want while giving the organization what they want. That's one of the biggest things we should talk about tonight, and as we think about creating resumes and cover letters is, don't put it in your terms, but think, here's why the organization should hire, or here's what value I'm bringing to the organization. Here's why, you know, I'm going to be so great to help you solve your goals. So we'll keep these up on the board, but let's go through our 5 tips for resumes and interviews. Tigers, do you want this?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Greg, take us away with tip number 1.
Tip number 1 is knowing how to present yourself. And a couple things to keep in mind here is that as we're looking at this board, everyone's throwing out different ideas. There's really no set formula as to how you should be presenting yourself. Look at each one of these types of companies and jobs and locations and areas that you might want to work in. There's going to be a different type of presentation for yourself for speaking with each one of these companies. But also, first and foremost, the way that you're presenting yourself today and for college is much different from how you're going to be presenting yourself to companies. So, firstly, what we spoke about in the middle right here is the interviewer who's speaking to you, they know that you're a millennial, and because of that, they have some preconceived notions as to what that means about you. To sum that up, they might think that you're coddled. You've had life handed to you on a silver platter for the entirety of your existence. You get a blue ribbon on every single thing that you do, and you expect that that's going to be the exact same thing when you come into the workplace. You need to understand that the resume, what you're putting down on paper, is not the only thing that is in front of the employer. They have a lot more that they can learn about you just by logging onto their computer. So going through Google, checking out your Facebook, watching you as you're walking in the office, seeing how you interact with other people while you're there. And then finally, understanding how do you work with all these things and play to your audience. How do you present yourself when it comes to your dress, what your resume physically looks like, how you approach that interaction, and finally, some accessories. So first and foremost, when we're looking at these, what you have to do on this item right here is show that person that you are not in fact a coddled millennial, and that doesn't mean telling them that you are, say, driven, have initiative, and self-accountable. Don't write that on a paper. Show them why you are in fact driven, what you did to prove that you were driven, what you've done in the past that makes you self-accountable, and why you have initiative, and maybe some projects that you've worked on where you showed initiative. Next, go out and Google yourself. So if you haven't done so already, you can find a lot of things there that you may not know are existing. RJ, you've been through this probably more than Lauren and myself. Is this something that you generally do when people are coming past you?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I bring anybody in for an interview, I always Google them. And I mean, this is not like a shocking tip, but it is shocking to know that people don't realize what's out there. I had a friend of my mom's said, you know, my son can't get a job at Exact Target. Can you help him get a job at Exact Target? You know, feels like he just can't get in the door. So I Googled him, I found his Twitter feed, which is full of misogynistic comments about women at the gym, racist comments, and other just like things that make them look like a jackass. And I said, yeah, good luck. Here you can just submit your resume to HR. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Because, my reputation's not going to down for recommending this guy. And I imagine that there are all sorts of things, that we have fun in college and do all sorts of stuff. The difference between you and me, I'm 34, I'll be 35 in December, but we didn't have all the stuff. We had Kiwi, and that's it. So, they don't know Kiwi?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All those pictures on the wall at Marvin's, like that's like the proof of anything that happened. No one had, camera phones or whatever. So we didn't really carry that legacy with us. But Exact Target looks at all of that stuff. So and other folks do as well. So check your Twitter accounts, lock it down. If you're not saying the right things, if you are saying the right things and you're following specific brands or you're retweeting stuff that's relevant, for example, for Exact Target, you're retweeting stuff about interactive marketing or what the latest iOS 7 releases. Actually, I'm really interested in that. I want to see that, I run the mobile team at Exact Target, so you're interested in that? That's really cool. And you and your friends have some fun? Cool. Great. You went on a road trip? Fun. If you're showing stuff that's inappropriate, then I'm going to look at that just the same. And anyway, it's just really, really important for you to check your privacy settings just across the board. So, yes.
And to reiterate on that, I would say maybe RJ didn't have these things. He was in school here at DePauw, and when we're looking at like major financial institutions, they may not even have Facebook, but I tell you, Lauren does, and I do, and I also know what Vine is, Instagram, Pinterest, anything else. And RJ might have the final say, but we're reviewing you as well. And I'm going to look you up right away. And to believe that RJ might not find me there, maybe that's true, but we will.
Yeah.
Because we're on them ourselves.
Yeah.
Know your college self versus professional self. Each and everything that you did here at school doesn't have to be shared with a potential employer. Make decisions as to what you've done here and how that can better tell your story and present yourself to this company. Also know that it doesn't have to, if you're going, say, for a marketing company, you don't have to only tell them about marketing projects and marketing classes that you took. You might also want to share with them other things about you that make you a good fit for that company, your other interests that you have, other things that you were involved with outside of marketing.
Can I add one thing I'd add, and this is, you guys are going to know a little bit more maybe about me than you want to know, but when we're interviewing interns, and like Lauren said, we had 25 interns, and we had 25 new college graduates come right through the programs and then onto the mobile team afterwards, like Lauren did. The professional self versus your college self is a really important distinction, and it's one of the reasons I like working at Exact Target is I can be myself. But we've had some interns and some recent college graduates bring their college self to work, which means that they refer to all of their friends by like nicknames like Scooter and like Haz and Scooter, and I just like this college talk. It makes you sound really young, and it makes you sound young and inexperienced. And in the workplace we sometimes have nicknames and things, but there's really an important distinction between your college self and then what is going to get you ahead in the workplace. And I'd really love for you to. I'm really glad that Greg and Lauren joined today because there's such great examples of young folks at Exact Target who have achieved leadership positions in a short amount of time. Lauren was talking about presenting to the VP of Finance on a project that we worked on together, and literally she ran it. And there are other folks who are Lauren's age or have Lauren's experience there with no way would I have that person present. And Lauren is just, not only is she really smart, but she presents really, really well, and I can trust her to, present herself on behalf of the mobile team. And Greg has been to Sweden, Australia twice. I was supposed to do a presentation in Sweden about like a year ago, and about 4 days before I said, I can't go, can you go, Greg? And he went and presented to this conference in Sweden. So it's like the type of college self versus professional self that gets you into those opportunities. And that doesn't mean you can't be yourself and be fun and goofy and all of that, but there is a professional self that's really critical for you to think about as you're interning at a company as well as preparing yourself for that interview. Sorry.
I think it's kind of funny looking back where sometimes like know when you can loosen up at times as well. RJ used to tell me like, Craig, I don't think we know the real Craig yet. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
we can loosen up a little bit. So knowing when you can
Yeah.
actually just draw the line and when it's appropriate to be really, really business driven and to the point, and when it's okay to show people, in a different setting who you really are,
Yeah.
and kind of loosen up with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Another one is be positive, proactive. Show that person that you're really going to be a major contributing factor to their team. You're someone who's driven and really wants to be involved, wants to be a key player in every single project that you're working on, and has some sort of goals. One question that we'll ask a lot of people that are coming through is, what do you want to do? So, and I'm not talking about 3 months from now, 1 year from now, but 5, 10 years from now. What are your goals? What do you actually have set up? And the worst thing that you could ever do there is have someone who sits back and looks at you with a blank stare. No, I don't know. This is what my dad does, so maybe I'll do that. Have some sort of goals. And if it truly is what your dad does, great, but say why, and why does that interest you, and why are you excited about that? Or if it's something entirely different, have that story to show and show that you're going to be a major player on that team. And finally, touching on controversial topics. So you will need to make some decisions around politics, religion, Greek life, whether or not that's something that needs to be shared. Understanding the organization that you're speaking to, the specific role that you're going for. Is it appropriate to be including politics and religion? I think that a general practice would be hold back on the start and maybe add those items in as you decide, but maybe not have them on each and every one of your resumes that you're going to hand out to everyone. And then finally, name dropping. Be careful here. You could come across the entirely wrong way if you are just name dropping for the sake of name dropping. This, I think, kind of goes hand in hand with entitlement and trying to show, well, I know the CEO of that company plays golf with my dad, so really like this internship. That's not going to impress anyone, and we're at a point where talent speaks for itself, and it doesn't really matter who you know anymore, and if you're going to come in and do the job better than the candidate who's best friends with the CEO, then they'll get the job, or you'll get the job as opposed to them.
And a place where it might be appropriate to name drop, you said, when to name drop and when not to. Sometimes when I came through looking at Exact Target, I saw a trend that a lot of our top talent out of my management program were looking at Exact Target and then ending up there. So I knew that there was a lot of talented people who were very interested in this company, and that might be a situation where, when asked why were you interested, or what sparked your interest, how did you hear about us, that might be an opportunity where, you could say, I know so-and-so goes here, he's a really hard worker, and I really am impressed by the work that he showed in one of my classes and thought that working at a company with him means that it's a great company. That might be, and RJ, you might have different thoughts, but a time when it's okay to name drop. So there are occasions, but take it at your own risk.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to go back to this controversial topic because I think it's really important. There are a lot of students that are involved in political organizations as well as religious organizations and Greek life, and you may or may not be involved in Greek life, but to know that outside of the DePauw land and the DePauw bubble, that a lot of people view Greek life as just an extension of more and more coddled behavior, or by your friends or whatever the case is. It's not always reflected on in a good light. In the same way that you might be applying for a job where they lean one way or the other from a political standpoint, or have a religious affiliation that's different than yours. And so, I always advise students and folks who are applying for jobs, be yourself and put that on your resume if you're proud and excited to talk about it, and you talk about how that relates to the job that you're trying to go for. But do know that there's a potential risk of turning off somebody who's interviewing you by putting that there. So it's not something I would completely avoid, but just know sort of the risks that might be associated there. So so I don't know if you guys have any specific questions about that. I'd love to field them if you do, but just be aware that that's a potential risk.
Maybe be able to elaborate on it. More in your introduction, you spoke about your Greek life involvement in college, but what you did while you were in that organization and why it helped you as to where you are right now. So be able to speak to it.
Yeah, that's something that we had talked about when we were, discussing this in our own little group. What's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and we had talked about having something to back it up, and similar to what RJ said about going in and being ready to share how it relates to that experience. And there are really, very relevant experiences that can be gained from so many different types of organizations. You just need to be able to articulate those and make sure that you can draw that line for your interviewer, how this experience in my fraternity is going to make me a better candidate. So I would also think about that as you're deciding what to put on your resume and what not to put on your resume.
Yeah, I had a candidate come through last week that told me that this person played tennis and was in a fraternity and was a freshman, and said, "Oh, I had to quit tennis because my fraternity was just too much." And I'm like, "What'd you do?" Like, "Oh, I was pledging fraternity." So did you end up like a leadership position or something? And it was just, no, I was in the fraternity. And it sounds like, oh, so you're lazy. Like that was my takeaway. And I know it's kind of a jerky thing to say, but I can make those snap decisions about people, based on little information that I know. So just be aware of the potential risk, in including stuff that's maybe just a participation versus having some sort of leadership position or some sort of role that you can then apply to the position that you're applying.
I guess to summarize just this slide here is everything's out there. You have the opportunity to control what that perception is of you based on how you present yourself. So decide exactly how you want to bring yourself to the table, and you can make a great first impression or you can have a really good one.
Lauren, can you talk a little bit about how to play your audience there, the dress and resume and accessories and all that?
Yeah, so,
Because Greg didn't do it.
I skipped that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I see that, Greg. We're going to talk about this in tip number 2 as well, but you don't just have to be able to present yourself, but you have to be able to present yourself in the light that the audience is expecting sometimes. So, like RJ said, even though at Exact Target we don't wear suits, Fidelity expected him to show up in a suit. And, just because, at that time, that might not be RJ. He may not love to be in a suit, but that's something that he needed to do to show the client that he's serious. And, as you're going through this job search process, that's something that you would also need to be aware of, how you're presenting yourself to representatives at career fairs, to interviewers, and even, events that you may not even be expecting to get a job at. Like, this evening, for example, what you wear and how you present yourself is always something that people are going to be considering. So just make sure that you're matching your attire for the event that you're going to. So, for example, tonight it's really casual and we're here to have a conversation and we don't care what you wear. And you may be able to strike up a conversation and maybe it's going to lead to a job. But if you walk into a career fair in a sweatshirt, your career or company representative may immediately write you off. And not only do you need to be dressed in a way that, a suit, but make sure you know that your hair is combed, your suit fits, that it's not too short, that it's not too big and too long. As much as we don't like to say it, appearance really does make a difference. And it's not that anyone is judging on what you're wearing, but showing up, showing that you're put together, whatever it is you're wearing, that you've taken the time to think about it, is the first step to making a good impression. So that's something to keep in mind as you are starting to look for internships and starting to meet with more professional people outside of college environments, that you need to be aware of, and definitely know your audience when you're going to different events. So.
Sorry, I think we could elaborate on this slide for hours. I'll also add in, show that interviewer that you know more about the company than just where they might be located, the brand name, and how much they're paying you. Show that you really have an interest in what they're doing. So do your research. Maybe.
Greg, I think you're stealing my next slide.
Am I? Yep. There you go.
Don't steal my thunder.
I'm ready to jump in.
I'll tag you in when I miss something. So, so not only does it translate from like for example, a career fair when you need to understand what you need to be wearing and what type of impression you're going to make, but from the career fair to the internship, you need to understand what's expected of you, and as you listed out here, you know what they're looking for from you. So it's not just presenting yourself, it's presenting yourself and tailoring that presentation to your audience. So as Greg was about to say, when you're talking to a company, you're interested in applying to a company, or even maybe you've got an interview already and you're prepping for that. As Greg was saying, you really do need to make sure that you've done your research, whether that's a blog or a website. You know, Google their name for the news section. See what their latest press release is or what's been said in the news about them, so that when you go into that interview, you are showing that you have an interest here and that you have spent some time looking into what they do.
My favorite question to ask an interviewee is, who are our top competitors? Just to see if you know. A lot of times they don't. But anyway.
And you know, we were saying with some companies like ExactTarget, it's a little tougher to figure out what they do. But if you come in and you can explain it. If you show that you've made that effort to try and understand and are taking the time to learn about it and then articulate it, even if it's not right on, even if you get to the company and after interning you realize that you might have been pretty far off in the beginning, just taking that extra time will separate you from other candidates. And prepare with relevant questions. So not only is RJ going to ask you about a competitor, but understand that you can ask them questions that will also show your knowledge and the research you've done. So maybe you have spent some time reading recent press releases and your interviewer didn't ask you about that or didn't give you an opportunity to kind of show what you know. So maybe a question at the end could be back to your interviewer, what do you think of Response's latest product offering, and how is that going to change ExactTarget's approach? And use that time at the end to really ask questions and not come in and ask those standard questions that everybody else that comes through the interview room will ask. Like, what's a typical day look like? What's a daily meeting look like? Things that aren't really going to set you apart. So you can always use that time to kind of show the work that you've done to prep. So have a goal, and we'll probably talk about this in a few different levels. So there are short-term goals and there are long-term goals. And when you come into the interview process and you are starting to look for a job, understand what you want out of your internship. And maybe your internship, like RJ said, you're doing it for 3 months. You could be doing anything. Maybe you don't want to be doing it for the rest of your life, but know what you want to get out of it and be able to articulate that. And that's something that should be carried throughout the process. So from your resume to your interview to your cover letter, and maybe on through to the internship itself, you need to be able to articulate that to people and what you're looking to get out of the internship. One, so that you can, one, so that they know you're interested, but two, so that you can make sure that you're getting it out of the internship, that you can tell people that you talk to throughout your time there that this is really what I want, and if you're, they'll maybe give you opportunities to do so if you're not getting that.
Just to chime in here, oftentimes when we hire interns, we actually say, we just hire you as an intern, and we don't have a department specified. Instead, we hire the person and then fit it to the project that we need done. And we say, so what do you want to do this summer? And oftentimes we hear interns trying to sound flexible or just open and say, I'll do whatever. And then if you're comparing that to somebody who comes after you and says, you know, who maybe has all the same skills, the same deal, what do you want to do? And that person says, you know, I'm really interested in finance right now this summer. Great, okay, so we know where to place this person in finance, but you have no idea where to place you. So you're already at a disadvantage. Again, you're committing for 3 months. So have an idea of what's your goal? What do you want to do? Another thing is, you know, I'd really like to work in the finance department and I'd love to work in your San Francisco office. Okay, well, let's see if we can make that happen. We certainly could, and we've done that in the past. So having a goal of that sort of, it's specific enough that we can actually help place you into one of those roles. Also shows that you know what the company does and knows what you want, at least for that next 3 months. That's really critical.
And talking a little bit more about long-term goals, I think RJ has some good stories here about, you know, if you do have a longer-term goal that goes beyond that 3 months, and don't be afraid of sharing it. So a lot of companies, or I guess speaking for Exact Target, you know, this comes with knowing your audience, know the type of people that you're interviewing and what we might be looking for. And for example, we're looking for passionate people. So if you have a passion that doesn't align with Exact Target, that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear it. So it's okay to be looking to do something else, and this is a stepping stone, and that's something that would also be good to start processing and thinking about how you're going to articulate it, not only from the internship, but beyond as you look into more full-time positions. So in prepping and knowing what companies are looking for, when you're thinking back through, and many of you may have group work as an example of some times that you work with teams or working on a project and want to talk about the results that you achieved. And what's important is that you're talking about how you contributed to the project, not what the project team did as a whole. So know what, you know, individual contributions you made and the impact they had on the end results, because you could get burned by saying what we did and not really being able to share your individual impact.
On this one too, I also think it's okay to maybe bring some additional items with you that really are a tangible show of what you actually accomplished. So, for example, when I was interviewing, I worked at an advertising agency in Boston. As I said, I didn't freak out first thing, but if the conversation was moving in the right direction, I used to bring out a magazine and flip to the page that had my advertisement in it that I actually worked on that summer. After I was done with that summer, it was out on the racks inside of the stores, and it gave me an opportunity not only to say I worked at this agency, this is what I was doing, but really put something in front of them to say this is the result of my work. This is what I did with this project. You can see it. It was real. That was my impact.
And that's a good point that Greg had too, is also the results-oriented, I guess just results-oriented in general is something companies will be looking for. If you can quantify what you've done in some way, that is more impactful than just telling them what you did as opposed to telling them what the results were. So know your GPA. You may choose to put your GPA, your major GPA, if you have spent a lot of time working on your econ classes, for example, and you want to showcase that, but maybe you haven't been as interested in other classes, so that's a personal decision that you'll have to make. We've kind of touched a little bit on your activities and leadership, understanding participation and leadership, and making sure that what's on your resume is really going to tie back to you being a better candidate. So not necessarily everything makes your resume. If you've done a wide variety of things, but you've only been a leader in a few of them, maybe only those leadership organizations get on your resume. So there are different things that you'll have to sort through as you decide what's going to be most impactful. And then computer skills. So coming from a tech company, and I think now this day and age, pretty much any company, be careful what you consider a computer skill. Microsoft Word is not one of them. If you can know JavaScript or C# or special coding language that you want to highlight, and most of you that have taken those classes probably understand how to get those into your resume, but just know, that it's a different time now where everybody knows Word, and be careful what you take as a skill, because now it's kind of a commodity.
I would say, for me, I would consider Adobe, so Photoshop, InDesign, those are skills that I would like to be better at myself, so if that's something that you're proficient with, add that. So it goes beyond just coding too.
Yeah.
RJ and Greg, do you have anything else to add here?
You rock this one.
You didn't miss anything or step on anyone's toes.
I do want to point out the thing you did miss, Lauren, which is the X Factor. So, no, I think that all of you are going to be competing for internships, all of you, and you're going to be competing against each other as well as others from other schools. So it's really important to know what you've done, your resume. But what's something that makes you unique? I want to talk about that actually with you. I want to understand why you were an English major and you're applying for a role at a computer science company. That doesn't make any sense. Tell me about it. You are the national champion in jump roping. Wow, tell me, how'd you get into that? Well, I want to talk about that. I want to know what makes you a little bit different or a little bit unique from the next person. And everybody has it, and it comes in different shapes and sizes. So it also makes it really interesting to have a conversation with you and probably kick off the interview a little bit better. So I want to understand what that X Factor is. Here's some resumes that have come across my desk. I'm curious about which one you would be, just by sight alone, be interested in talking to. Which person would you want to have in for next? Would you raise your hand if you think the one on the left is the best one? Okay. What about the one in the middle? What about the one on the right? Why do you think the one on the left is the best one?
Just clean cut, easy to read. It's not overwhelming like the other two are.
Got it. Why do you think the one in the middle is the best one?
I think that the way it puts things into categories, like education experience, and then it kind of picks like the three main experiences that it has, and then really details like exactly what they did, what their strengths were, and like what they learned. Maybe the other one on the left is just a little too brief. So, I mean.
Okay. What about you? Sell me this last resume, if that's your resume. Why is that one the better one?
Me?
Yeah.
That's a tough one to sell.
Really? Who can sell this one?
I mean, definitely got a lot of information. It looks like he's done some work and been successful in whatever he put on the paper. So, but I mean, I think it's just off sight alone, it's a little too much.
Yeah, I think so too. I think your point is really valid, and clean is important. This one looks a little bit light to me. That's the only thing. It looks like, man, what has he done? So the one in the middle is more aesthetically appealing as opposed to the cramped in wordiness of the last one. And it's really easy to have your resume look like this one on the left, especially if you're a sophomore in college and you haven't done as much as maybe a senior or somebody with 5 or 10 years of experience. So you're gonna have to get a little crafty on how you make resumes look full, but not too full, and sort of strike that balance. Also, 1 page is all you have to do. 1 page. No one has enough experience at this point in their career to have more than 1 page, so we'll just stick with 1 page. How much does an employer look at a resume? How much time? 7 seconds. Any other guesses? 6 seconds. I say about 30 seconds. I spend about 30 seconds. So I think it's important to prep for that 30 seconds at the end. And the ways you're going to do that is by having a relevant objective that's company specific. So if you want to work at Exact Target in the Exact Target finance department, put it at the top. And you better go through and delete that when you apply to Silverfile. I throw your resume away if it says our competitor, because I know that you just had to take that extra second. So make it company specific. I want to know your personal info, your name, email address, your phone number, your Twitter handle. I want to see it, actually, if you have a Twitter handle. Your address is optional. And actually, this is a funny one. And if you put, a lot of people like put their DePauw address and then their home address. If you look at exact target, we're based out of Indianapolis. We have offices in San Francisco, and New York, and Brazil, and everywhere else. So your address really kind of doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to send you a piece of mail, so so don't put it on there. Don't waste the space. And the other thing, if you live like in Missouri or something, then and if I want you to be in Indianapolis, I automatically think, oh, I've got two equal candidates. One's in Indianapolis, one I have to pay to move here. I'll go with the Indianapolis one. Don't even give that information unless it's needed. So you're gonna have to fill it out when you fill out an HR form, which is fine, but me as a hiring manager, I don't need to know that, so you don't need to put it on there. Your order should be, what I'm interested in seeing is your education. I want to see your GPA. If it's not on there, I assume it's bad. So your GPA and then your major GPA. So thanks to Gary Lemon, I graduated with a lower GPA than my major GPA, which was almost a 4 points. So I put both on there. You know, you can put your GPA and your major GPA. I want to see job experience and then activities. So I want to see relevant coursework. So if you're applying for a position at Exact Target, I want to see that you've taken some computer classes, or if you have taken some computer classes. I don't really care about your English literature class. It's not relevant. You're going to have to be really judicious about the high school information you put on your resume. If you put a lot of high school stuff on your resume, I'll assume you haven't done anything in college. But there might be some really substantial, cool things that you did in high school that you would put on it. By the time you're a junior or you're graduating, don't have high school stuff on there unless you won the national jump rope championship when you're a senior or something. But you know, you want to make it mostly college because that's what I'm interested in. What have you done lately instead of what did you do like sophomore year of high school? Results-oriented bullets means they're quantifiable and they're time-bound. I worked for 30 hours a week, I helped save 20 children from the drought last summer. You know, like make them quantifiable with a number as well as time-bound. What were the results? So we'll talk more about that. Spelling, I will throw away your resume if there's spelling errors, period. Formatting, you need one page, use bolds, italics, underlines. Creative layouts are actually very welcome at a place like Exact Target. Other places, they're not. So you need to know your audience and figure out, can I do a landscape resume? Yeah, maybe. At Exact Target, that might be kind of interesting. At a financial services company, good luck. Colors, you know, color looks a little cheesy. You know, like you get some like pink resumes and stuff like that. But you know, just be aware that sometimes that creativity is welcome, sometimes it's inappropriate.
I think on bolds and underlines, on that one, I think it's okay to go beyond just your formatting too, and not just have education, activities, and additional be bold and underlined. But say someone's going to be reading your resume for only, say they don't give you the full 30 seconds, maybe they give you 10 seconds and there's something that they absolutely need to see. In that 10 seconds, maybe bold it, underline it, make sure that their eye is driven to that in those first few seconds that they're passing through.
Good. Your resume is only a piece of the puzzle. LinkedIn, if you're not linked in already, sign up today. Go online tonight and sign up for LinkedIn. You have 3 friends here, so link us in. We want to be your friends. And you should also, you guys see 4 speakers every semester. You should link in every one of those speakers and make sure to build out your networks because it's important who you know, who you used to know, who you can network through. So make sure you have a LinkedIn profile and make sure that it's consistent with your personal website and your resume. So I've actually, I sort of enjoyed zinging a candidate whose resume was different than their LinkedIn profile, that was different than their personal website. And I said, so what's the deal here? Which one's right? You've got 3 different stories to tell me. And then he sort of bumbled around. And you know, don't get caught in a weird situation like that. Just make sure that everything's updated and consistent. If you change your resume or you update your resume after you've submitted it, always bring a fresh resume in, consistent with your LinkedIn profile and everything else. And then you just hand it to the person that you're interviewing with. And say, oh, here's my most updated resume, so then there's no question. And then PDF it. So Word documents get all mangled in different systems. There are all sorts of goofy, weird HR systems out there. We have one, and it always botches everything, makes your bullets all weird and misconstrues your formatting. PDF it, and then submit it. So that there's no chance there. Yeah.
What do you mean by QR codes?
QR codes. So you want to talk about that, Greg?
Yeah. So QR codes, maybe you want to, say you're speaking to a digital company such as Exact Target, you want to show how capable you are in the digital space. Maybe you set up a QR code, which is, have you seen, it's like the black and white, you know what a QR code is? Does anyone not? Okay, you couldn't work for, no, I'm kidding.
You're out.
The QR code is the black and white pixelized image that you might see on some advertisements that'll say, scan this with your phone and you can get a coupon. Maybe you want to have on your resume a small QR code that takes someone to your personal website, or a video that you've created, or something else that displays your work. That's something you might want to add on there, just as an add-on to show, this is what my resume is telling about me, let me show you a little bit more. But basically this is saying you can get creative. If this is something that you want to, if you're able to deliver much more than what words on paper are able to show, then do that.
But know your audience. So it may seem like we're contradicting ourselves sometimes, but it is kind of a complicated process to think through sometimes. With that caveated that a financial services company may not want to see a QR code on your resume. So know the company that you're applying to and understand if that's something that they might be interested versus a more conservative company that may say, you know, we want a really straightforward, very conservative resume.
Cool. Greg, do you need a cover letter?
Do you? You might. My first take here, if we could go to the first take here is, who's written a cover letter before? So at the very, very least, and I think it's going to be, you have to know how to write a cover letter and what that should be including. That's what we're going to walk through right here. And that's going to vary. So if a company is asking you for a cover letter, you need to be able to turn that around and put that in their hands if they're asking for it. And really what this is your opportunity to move beyond a resume that is showing everything about who you are, but make that pitch for yourself as it relates directly to that job, to that company, to elaborate upon that and really pitch yourself for a specific position that you want. So in that first paragraph, what you can elaborate on is why exactly you want to be working at this company and why exactly you want this specific job that you're going for. What skill, maybe what projects have you been working on? What skills are you trying to build yourself that align with exactly what this job is? And this is where you really, it's not a high level, this is who Greg is, this is what he's capable of. This is, Greg wants the catapult rotational job at Exact Target, working in these 3 divisions for these reasons. Paragraph 2 is going to elaborate on that. So walking into past jobs that you have, classes that you've taken at school, projects that you've worked on, organizations that you might be involved with, really everything that is coming together to have RJ read this, Lauren read this and say, he really wants this job, he's passionate about it, but is he right? And this is a paragraph that shows, wow, he really is. He's already worked in this space, he has experience here, he's going to hit the ground running when we put him in this position. And then finally, in the third paragraph, summarize what you've stated here, really make a strong stance, and if you're going to do so, make sure you follow up on this. So if you say that you're delivering this resume and, for example, you want to reconnect with that employer in 1 week, whether that is through giving them a call or sending them a follow-up email, you better make sure that you send that email or make that call. Otherwise, that's going to be the first impression that they have from you after the fact of saying that you are great, successful, going to be good. If you can't deliver upon the first commitment that you made, then all credibility is gone.
The one thing I would say here, guys, is it's so easy to use terms like I'm solution-oriented and I'm results-driven. I don't even know what that means. So just watch the buzzwords and look at this language. It's like filler, you know. So instead, stick to why are you a good fit for this position. Don't throw all these kind of empty buzzwords in there.
When it comes to follow-ups, when you're like applying through like maybe a portal or you don't know exactly who you're applying to, where it's just like jobs at company, whatever, what would you suggest for like a follow-up? Because it's not like you know the person that you're applying to.
LinkedIn. So if you link in with me and I know one person at that company, you should then contact me and say, hey, would you introduce me to Steve at this company, I'd love to chat with them. And then you put your resume in there, and then you set up a call with Steve. You know, because you're a management fellow, I'm a management fellow, and we have this conversation. I'm happy to put you in conversation like 10 minutes, 15 minutes with Steve. And then Steve will be a great follow-up person. Hopefully, then we'll get you networked into the company. And then that way you have a contact into somebody beyond just jobs at.
What would be your advice if you don't have a ton of experience for the specific job that you're going after?
Know why you want it. So, I mean, I love, we hired, know why you want it. Just tell me why you want it, yeah. Because, you know, in your position, you're a sophomore in college, I don't expect you to have a ton of experience here, but I do want to know, why do you want to work here? What's so interesting about it? What's your story? Why should I believe it? What else would you have there?
Thing.
No?
Again, this is, you know, consistent theme, but make a decision here. If a cover letter is not being required to be submitted with your resume, and you also find yourself there thinking, what can I write? What can I write? I want to add a cover letter. Don't send one just for the sake of sending it. Send it if it's going to be good, and if it's going to speak to that role that you want, and you can support it. If they're requiring one, absolutely send it. If they're not, add one if it's going to be beneficial to your overall application to the job. Don't add it just for the sake of adding one, because you thought it might benefit.
You know, here's a sort of embarrassing story, but I interviewed for a position at Lilly when I was a senior, and I think it was like February of that year, and I interviewed for a position, and they said, you know, why do you want to work here? And I gave some BS answer, and they, I didn't get the job, and they put on they gave me like an evaluation form that says, lacks ambition. And I thought, wow, I mean, I have plenty of ambition. I have tons of ambition. It's just I didn't really have a lot of ambition for that specific position, and it showed. So, you know, if you don't have a lot of experience, who cares? But if you really want the job, and you already thought, man, I really want to work at Lilly in the marketing department because you guys help people make, you know, drugs, and my mom, you know, whatever. Like, what's your story? Tell it. That's, you know, it's really compelling and interesting. If you don't have that story, and maybe that's not the right fit for you then. You know, and you're trying to like fit yourself into a job that's, I don't know, not right. You know. These are good questions, thanks. And these are real questions too. You know, cover letters, even now, it's hard to write a cover letter. It's annoying to write a cover letter, and it's weird to talk about yourself. So I'm glad we're asking these questions. Keep them up.
Any other questions before we move forward? Earlier, be sure to prep for your interview, and this goes back to researching the company, understanding their position in the market, possibly, you know, their competitors, their most recent news. If you know, you're applying for an exact target, you might want to know that we were just acquired by Salesforce, and you know, use this information and the research to leverage throughout the interview, from being knowledgeable about their questions and to following up with questions of your own at the end. Search on LinkedIn for anyone that you're meeting with. So it might help to go ahead and some of the interviews in some of the career centers, or if you're working through the university, will know who's interviewing you before they come onto campus. So if you can get that information and then take a look at their resume on LinkedIn or their past experiences, this is an opportunity to, you know, understand what their past is. I think, you know, in my opinion, it also might be an opportunity to see, you know, do you have a connection with this person in some way? And it's something you would need to delicately do, but, you know, understand that, you know, RJ was on the swim team and Andrew was on the swim team. You know, if you're going to share your experiences about DePauw, maybe it would be okay to bring up that I was there. And so it not only helps you understand, you know, what their background is in a professional way, but it helps you understand their experiences and get a better idea of the person that's interviewing you as opposed to the company that's interviewing you. Get everyone's business card. So this is something I don't think that, you know, from my experience, everyone does when they come through an interview. is ask for the business card. And why it's important is because you want to follow up with that person. You not only want to show you're interested, but a business card has all the information that you're going to need to reach out to somebody. It has their email address, it has their phone number. So if you can get that business card, then you're not going to have to worry about pinging them on LinkedIn. You can reach out to them directly. And once you have the business card, then make it sure that it's clear what you're going to do to follow up. So you have the business card, and there are multiple ways that you can broach the subject. Maybe the interviewer will tell you what the next steps are and that they're going to reach out to you. But you can also tell the interview what next steps you're going to take. You're going to give them a call in 1 week to follow up and see how things are going. Or you're going to follow up with an email and just to check in and understand where they are in the application process. So get the business card and then tell the interviewer how you plan to use that information to get a hold of them at a later time. So follow-up emails. Another discussion that we had when we were prepping for this was, do you send a thank you note or an email? And what we had talked about and what would seem to be really effective, and RJ has seen as candidates come through, is an email is really immediate. And if you send an email right after you've done the interview, it shows that you're excited, you're energized, and it gives you one more opportunity to leave a lasting impression with your interviewer. But you should also follow up then at a later time with a thank you note. So, after the interview has happened, everybody at that company has gone back to work and has other priorities that they're focusing on. So, sending a thank you note, typically we hear handwritten thank you notes are what's recommended. And so take the time to write a handwritten thank you note, follow up, remind the interviewer that you're there, that you were a great candidate, and kind of get back in front of them one more time.
If you are writing that note, make sure your handwriting is legible and take your time. That's a pet peeve of mine.
And when to call and when to show up. So sometimes your action items, standard might be that you're going to follow up with a call. But if you haven't heard from somebody and you're in proximity to that location anyway, there might be an opportunity for you to stop in person and check in if you haven't heard from them for a while. I have an interesting story about a friend of mine who she decided that she wanted to do dolphin training. And that was something that she'd always wanted to do. And so she is from Indiana, went to Purdue, and she applied to SeaWorld to be a dolphin trainer with no prior experience, mind you. And so she sent in her application, and then not too much longer, she went on spring break in Florida. And while she was in Florida, she was about an hour away from SeaWorld. And she drove to SeaWorld, met with the folks that do recruiting for dolphin trainers. And before she left, she had a job. They actually interviewed her while she was there, and then she got a job for the next summer, drove back to West Lafayette, and had the rejection letter that had come in the mail while she was gone. So you can see that sometimes going that extra step can really get you there, because otherwise she wouldn't have gotten the internship. She already had the rejection letter on the desk, and it took an extra step, and kind of a rare situation where she happened to be in that proximity. But don't be afraid to take an extra action to get the job that you really want.
That story's so almost ridiculous. Like it's like really a dolphin trainer. Like I keep thinking like, not really. That's funny.
She from the time that I knew her, talked about being a dolphin trainer.
I love it.
So
Good.
yeah. And then search for other in-person opportunities. So for example, this is a great networking opportunity. There may be other networking opportunities that happen at DePauw as alumni come back. And if you know that the company you're interested in has alumni that will be at DePauw for certain occasions, use that as an opportunity to introduce yourself, step outside your comfort zone, and make that connection face to face, because oftentimes that's a much stronger connection than if you're going to email them digitally. So networking is really very important, and any opportunities you have to do that, whether it's looking for an existing contact you've already met or trying to meet new contacts, I would encourage you to take advantage of them.
I would say on this one though, also don't be discouraged if you don't have an in-person point of contact at these companies or the ability to get yourself to those, say to the location where that company is. I had a friend from college, we were in Ohio, who wanted to work at Google headquarters. He wasn't able to get out there, he didn't have the means, so he did apply online and really was thorough about it, followed up, showed that he wanted the job, and now he's out working at Google headquarters, and that all started from their career site within Google. So this is always great, but don't be discouraged if you have the company you absolutely want to work for, but you don't have that contact today. It's possible, you just have to work at it.
Any questions about the interview process?
I got just two things. One, be nice to the receptionist because they're interviewing you too, and the security people, truly. Think about your interviews start to finish. And then the last one.
I'm really bad about that last
Yeah, you
bullet.
are. That last bullet. Yeah. But the other thing is just remember that you're interviewing them too. That if it doesn't feel right, maybe you shouldn't work there, and that's okay. And maybe you should find a different position. But you should go in knowing that you have a really strong education, you've got a ton of good background, you've got creative ideas, you might be a great fit for them. And so interview them, ask them about the position, what will I be doing, how will I contribute, how is this valuable, those types of things. Make sure that's a fit for you. Because even though it's only 3 months of your life, you don't want to be miserable for 3 months of your life. There might be a better internship that matches your skills. So we're going to do 15 minutes of group work. Hey. And what we want to do is split up into teams of 3, or groups of or rather 3 groups. And we've got a little, like a resume translator worksheet here that we'll have you do. And then we'll come back together for a quick 15 minutes at the end. Does that sound all right? Okay, so, who has one room?
Yeah, I think we got 3 rooms. What was your first question? What prompted that?
Why do you, or what describe your ideal internship?
Everyone, I need, send it to Rebecca by 8 o'clock on Monday. I want to know, I want that. Okay, I want everyone to think about this and come up with bullet points, right?
Describe your ideal internship.
Describe your ideal internship. It's very frustrating when you come in and talk to me and you go, what do you want to do? I don't know. So stop and think what your ideal internship. So everyone, email Rebecca. I mean, obviously you can go outside this. I mean, whatever you think your ideal internship is. 8 o'clock. And Sandy is now checking, and you invite him up.
All right, we've got.